Lee Shu is a personal trainer, and her only job is to help female stars feel better. The story starts in a very busy place. The traffic light turns green and a blonde girl in a pink dress named Jie was running away from a guy. He kept calling her, but she just laughed and ran. This guy didn't understand why she always appeared in his dreams and he could never reach her. Suddenly, this man starts to pass by a crowd of people and consequently sees information about them. For example, a blonde woman named Zhao weighed 50 pounds and was 1'65" tall. There was another girl wearing glasses, and there were also features of her body, weight, height, and so on. This guy is our protagonist named Lee Siu. He didn't understand what was happening and why he was seeing all these things. Suddenly, voices come to his ear from somewhere. A blonde-haired girl was asking the protagonist to wake up. The guy was lying very relaxed on the couch, but when he saw the boss, he immediately tried to get up. The girl asked him if he had nightmares because he was sweating a lot. The protagonist replied that it wasn't a nightmare, he just forgot to turn on the air conditioning. After that, his boss ordered him to get up. Then she questioned if she hadn't given him a vacation today. She didn't understand what he was doing here. The protagonist replied that he wasn't doing anything at home. And anyway, someone could suddenly want to buy a class from him. Besides, he didn't want to leave a beautiful girl like his boss alone. The girl turned to the exit and sarcastically said that he was very funny. She doesn't even believe she will find a fly in her gym, let alone visitors, especially those who want to buy a private lesson. The girl seemed to be very dissatisfied with her club. She starts saying that she should have found a man to marry and who would cook delicious food at home, but she decided to spend money to open this club. The protagonist was already used to hearing these complaints from his boss, so he remembered that she always receives marriage proposals, so he asks why she hasn't accepted yet. Even these proposals also came from great rich bosses. The girl threw a towel in his face and asked him to stop talking about it, then ordered him to take a shower because he is sweating a lot. Lai came to the locker room and started to take off his clothes. Our main character recently graduated from college and started working as a personal trainer in a fitness gym, and this beauty who just talked to him is his boss Su Liang. Thanks to the beauty of the boss, when they opened the club for the first time, they had many visitors. But soon her business began to fail. The worst thing is that her competitors attracted all their coaches to them, seducing them with high salaries. In less than half a month, only the protagonist remained with her. In fact, all these coaches took their clients with them. But the protagonist kept saying that he can't let Su Liang just close this club, he must help regain his former glory. Suddenly the boy had his order received and now he was being transported somewhere. Everything was bright blue and the young man did not understand where he was. After that, there was an instant transfer and he was received in the perfect system. The boy saw a blonde-haired girl with 2 ponytails. She was also wearing a pink dress and could fly. The girl leaned towards the protagonist, saying that her name was Lulu and was her system manager. Li Shi was still in some kind of shock, but Lulu had already approached his face and told him to get ready because she was going to turn on the system, but the guy grabbed her hand and demanded that she tell him immediately where he was. The girl suddenly disappeared and Li Shi was back in the locker room. He returned to reality but was completely incredulous, looking at his hands and asking what kind of perfect system is this after all. Suddenly a woman looked at the locker room and asked Coach Li Shi what was wrong with him. The woman's name was Wang. The system showed that she weighed 74 kilograms with 1'65" centimeters in height. The amount of fat in her body is 31%. The hips were a little wide and she had a belly that bothered her. The 104 series of exercises is adequate. The protagonist was completely lost. 10 minutes later, Wang was walking down the street when a girl approached her and asked if she was a member of this sports club. Then the girl asked if this club is good and said that she wants to find a suitable one for herself. Wang may have a hope in her soul that this girl would become a part of the club. Then she replied that it was a very good club. There were many different cool simulators and also a professional coach. Suddenly a young man in sports uniform approached them and cut them off, saying that Coach Lai Shu was far from being a professional in his field. The man says that he has worked there before, so he knows how the coach constantly touches women. The woman got angry with his intrusion and said he was terrible and obscene. Wang got angry with the guy and asked him to stop lying. The man replied saying that if the trainer was really good, she would already be thin. The girl next to her was shocked by what she heard because she thought that the girl had just started going to the gym to lose weight, but found out that Wang has been there for 2 years and didn't get any results. Wang felt uncomfortable with this arrogant guy's words. She was still standing in place watching the two of them climb the escalator. The guy thanked Wang and said that she can keep going to his club, but even then all the visitors rushed to them. Wang clenched her fists and said that it was all her fault. It's because of her that the reputation of their club is going into a hole. The girl said that the whole time she goes to that gym, she tried a lot of different exercises and simulators, but in the end she couldn't lose weight. So she said that she needs to stop going to the sports club from tomorrow. Now, standing in front of the protagonist Wang was trying to say that she wanted to stop training there, but Li Shu grabbed her by the shoulders and told her not to continue talking. That's because he has a very important question for her. The boss saw this and was a little alarmed by what was happening. The protagonist asked Wang if she would agree to a free lesson with him. Wang didn't expect such a proposal and tried to digest Coach Li Shu's words in her head because it seems like an embarrassing moment. Meanwhile, Lin pushed her away and said that he invited her to a free practice. This time he promises that she will be very surprised and will be able to change her sportswear very soon. Wang decided that she would talk about it with the trainer later. When she left, the boss came to Li Shu and asked him to tell him what he had agreed here. The boss asked if he really wants to seduce Wang and sell his private lessons. The guy replied that she thinks too much and said that he just remembered some special fat-burning methods that are very suitable. The boss ignored her words because Wang arrived at this club in May and soon bought her classes. But the result is that she hadn't lost a single kilo in all this time. In fact, Wang ate with the protagonist very often and gained 2 kilos. The main character began to gesticulate furiously and said that this time it was serious. If Wang decides to train exactly according to her method for fat loss, then she will lose 2 pounds daily. After the guy's words, Suliang thought that she really didn't believe in his plan. The girl walks away and says that he was still lying to her. Li Shu asked if she didn't believe him. The boss thought it wasn't such a bad idea. So the protagonist decided to make a bet. If he won, then she should swim with him. The girl agreed to this condition, no problem. The boy was surprised that she agreed so quickly. Suliang came out saying that losing 2 kilos in such a short time is practically impossible. When she left, appeared above her head the same features about her body. The guy realized that this was definitely not a dream. The girl's height was 174 centimeters, weighing 54 kilograms. The amount of body fat was 18%. She had only the perfect body. Li Shu noticed that thanks to the perfect system, nothing is impossible. He stood in front of Wang and asked if she was ready, then said that later he will give her instructions according to her physical condition. This exercise set is created especially for your 50 jumps on a rope, 40 seconds of planks, 80 jumps with leg to stomach lifts, 1 minute of squats and 20 squats. In addition, 20 descents from a high position, 20 elbow descent from a standing position, and 30 seconds of running in place. He explained that this is similar to when she climbs on the bench for the first time with one foot, and then quickly puts the other foot down and descends in the same way. It's like climbing a ladder, only at a higher point. Wang looked at the coach with huge eyes. She asked if she really had to repeat all of this. Li Shu replied that not just once, but 4 times. The girl was in shock. The boss looked at them while the protagonist watched Wang do the training for fast fat burning. It seems that it really helps people lose weight faster. Most of the excess weight consists of water and only a small part is fat. The young man told the girl to relax her wrist. The boss thought that losing 2 kilos in 2 hours was a myth and just isn't possible. But she wonders why the protagonist, knowing that it can't be possible, continues to insist. Suliang thinks that even when he fails, she will still want to swim with him and relax. She thinks that this will be like a reward for her effort. Time passes and the whistling didn't subside. Wang was already beating from exhaustion. Her mouth was dry and she was dripping with sweat. The girl was having incredibly high shortness of breath and had no way to describe this feeling. Li Shu tells Wang not to be lazy because he knows his body hasn't reached its limit. She still needs to go to the treadmill to relax and stretch. The girl thought to herself that he just wasn't a person. A little later, the trainer said that they broke up by today. She could go change her clothes and take a shower so that he could measure her weight. After a while, Li was waiting for Wang in the measuring room. Suddenly, the boss came in there and asked if he really thought that Wang would be able to lose 2 kilograms of fat in one go. Suliang says that she can lose up to half a kilo, but 2 is unlikely. The protagonist smiled and said that hope always lies until the last second. Although it all seems like a very strange dream, he can see everyone's physical data. The guy has such a strange feeling that he knows this complex workout 104. The boss says that if he asked too much, then she couldn't go swimming. Then Wang entered the room and apologized for being late. She was already wearing a clean gray jumpsuit. Suliang stood up shocked and asked how she could lose so much weight in just one workout. When Suliang saw this girl for the first time, she had only lost a little weight. When Wang stepped on the scale, her weight was 71 kilograms. She lost 4 kilograms and 800 grams. Not even Wang could believe it was true. The prota was pleasantly surprised. The amount of fat in her body decreased to 29%. She lost 2 kilograms of fat, and the rest was water. Li Shu made a person lose almost 5 kilograms in just 2 hours, and without damaging the body. Suliang thought that the protagonist had a rather relaxed expression on his face. She wonders if the guy really doesn't understand that he created a real miracle. A little later, the 3 of them, they were at the entrance of the club. Suliang was giving instructions to the girl. saying that if Wang got sick, she should inform her immediately. The protagonist asked her boss if she still didn't believe him. At that moment, the other coach and the girl we saw at the beginning were going down the escalator. The girl thought that the discount that was actively promoted by the boy was only worth 2 hours, and she was already tired. She tried to say a word about what she thought, but when the two of them came down the stairs, they met the girl they had seen in the morning and were shocked that she didn't look the same as in the morning. They said that it was simply not possible. How could she lose so much in such a short time? Coach Li Shu put a smile on his face and asked if he was Wang's friend. Chief Su Liang picked up the conversation and asked if they would like to consider joining her sports club. The girl immediately ran up to them and said that she wanted to issue an annual subscription. The boss quickly accompanied her to her office. The protagonist patted Wang on the head and praised her, saying that it's all thanks to her. So from today, she becomes the trademark of the sports club. The girl could not contain her emotion and hugged the coach with her strength, thanking him for everything. At night in a hotel room, a reporter appears on TV, saying that according to the official announcement of the movie stars, the actress who will play the role of the main character will be played by ᴄᴏᴘᴘыឫ. Then the reporter turned directly to the actress herself and said she heard that the selection for this role was quite intense, and asked why the director invited her for this role. The girl replied that first of all, there are many dance scenes and movements in the film that cannot be done with the help of the stuntmen, so since she knew how to dance since she was a child, she agreed to participate. Secondly, she says that the character has a lot in common with herself. You need to strive for perfection and not give up for anything. She says that you need to achieve your goals quietly and persistently. The actress herself was training on a sports mat inside the hotel and watching the interview she gave to the press. Suddenly her back started to hurt, as if something had broken inside. Every time she trains and dances, the next day her back hurts terribly. The actress doesn't know anything and doesn't understand why it happens. But it seems like it's getting worse and worse. She realizes that it happened at a critical moment. Filming will start soon, and if people find out about her problem, then most likely her acting career will go into total failure. ᴄᴏᴘᴘыឫ called a certain person named Katie and asked her to do something now. At this time, Su Liang was sitting at her office computer and the protagonist sat on the edge of her desk with a cup of tea. He asked what she was doing. The boss replied that she was considering how many actions she should give him. The young man was quite surprised and asked what action she is giving him. The girl smoothed her hair and replied that it is obvious that she must keep a talent like his in this club. Otherwise, if he ran away with other beautiful girls, she would not break down in tears in the bathroom. The protagonist replied that with a young and beautiful mistress, he would not even be able to look into the eyes of other girls. Su Liang wanted to answer something, but suddenly a lot of people went looking for them. A red-haired girl interrupted the conversation and said she had just called for an appointment. She introduced herself as Katie, agent of actress ᴄᴏᴘᴘᴘыឫ. Katie said that they would like to use the club and sign a confidentiality agreement. The protagonist and the boss looked at them in silence for a moment, but then they replied in a slow voice that all this could certainly be done in her place. After these words, the actress herself introduced herself to the coach. The boy looked at her with huge eyes. He was admiring how beautiful he was, and especially his voice is much better than in the TV. After that, the protagonist saw the features of her body. 168 centimeters tall and 49 kilograms, 19% body fat, and she has a good figure. But he realized that the actress had a long-term problem in lower back pain all year round, and if all this is not cured in time, the disease will worsen. The boy receives the information that this girl will fit into the 79 series of exercises. Li Xiyu didn't expect that such a beautiful and apparently healthy girl would have serious health problems. While he was slowly digesting this information, Lulu appeared right there and congratulated her master for the successful integration of the ideal system. He can become the first generation of users of a perfect system. The guy had spun sharply in different directions and was again taken to a strange place. Lulu told the owner not to worry because he is in a special place where the rest of the time freezes. So now he can ask her any question. The protagonist, after hearing about the system stopping, he asked how powerful this system is and what was happening to this system. Lulu replied that the perfect system, after several levels of verifications, finally chose him as the first generation user. The young man wondered if it was being used to test the generation, and when he should be paid for its use. Lulu asked him not to worry so much because the system is ideal for the owner himself. In addition, every time the master directs a person to perfection, he will receive the appropriate perfect glasses. The ideal glasses can be perceived by the owner as a kind of currency. It can even be used to buy whatever the owner needs in the shopping mall of the system. And the way to do this is to help him perfect people to realize the dream of an ideal body. Lulu, having provided the owner with a catalog of things, she said that everything that exists can be bought at a very good and affordable price. Li Xiu saw several objects in front of her eyes, very strange purple crystals, deep sea, amethyst, 1,000-year-old ginseng fruit, the sword of an ancient god. Li Shu thought that if he had all these items, his club would be able to attract big customers, for example Liu Qini, an actress who recently came to them with her agent. Lulu asked if it wasn't too boring to dream of being a personal trainer, so she said that maybe he should lead knights and martial artists. Being a teacher of these great people is a very great honor. The protagonist didn't quite understand what she meant. Lulu explained that he is a man with a perfect system and is destined to become one of the great people in this world. Suddenly, Li Shu returns to his reality and greets Liu Qini. The girl herself didn't understand why he was so calm. After all, ordinary people are very excited to meet her in person. They ask for an autograph, a handshake, or a hug. She assumes that Li Shu she is probably scared or he doesn't watch any entertainment movies. The girl decided to perform as a singer and actress, but the boy interrupted her saying that he knew who she was. Lulu's words reminded him that he should not flatter others so as not to diminish his worth in their eyes. The girl gets nervous and doesn't understand why this guy is being cold with her. Even the boss whispered in her ear that they had an illustrious guest in front of them. Su Liang asked the prota to bring water and invited her to sit down to rest. Meanwhile, the actress herself was in shock and wondered what she did wrong when she came here. After a while, the girl received a glass of water, but a guy intercepted her and said there was no need to rest, so he simply threw the glass in the trash. The man bent down to the protagonist and introduced himself as the actress's personal trainer. He said that his name is Molly. The guy went on to say that as a wonderful personal trainer, Li Shu should know that if something happens during the exercises with Liu Qini, for example some kind of accident, he will take responsibility for this. The protagonist looked at this coach and realized that he was pretending to be pretentious. In fact, this coach just wanted to attract Liu Qini's attention. Molly said that, since Li Shu worked in a small sports club, he doesn't know all these professional details. Li Shu received from the system the data of this guy's body: 184 centimeters tall, weight 79 kilograms, body fat of 24%, and he also had kidney failure, relaxed muscles, weak body, and physical fitness is extremely low. In appearance he looks good, but in fact all this is just the result of plastic surgery to maintain his status. After seeing all this data, Li Shu was surprised that this guy could have kidney failure. He wondered how can a personal of the actress have the physical indicators so bad. Molly told the guy that someone can suddenly hide a camera in the simulator, so he should check everything carefully. Li Shu made a rather stern expression and asked the man what he meant. The guy didn't like his reaction and asked if he was hiding something. Then the guy turned to Chief Su Liang and said that he suspected that there weren't many people in the club because this guy was doing something. The boss frowned and clearly said that there are few people in his gym, but it has nothing to do with Li Shu. Su Liang was thinking that if it wasn't for actress Liu Qini, she would have kicked that one out of her club long ago. Molly suddenly became very nervous. Sweat began to run down his temples and he began to make up some excuse that he supposedly remembered something. Turning to the actress, he didn't know how to tell that they needed to go to another club. The girl slowly agreed to this. When they were leaving, she went back once again to look at the staff. A simple question about checking gym equipment has become a situation of dubious nature, and she just wants to find some quiet place to exercise. The actress started to apologize, but the protagonist told her that if her lower back pain continues, then the root of her problem will continue to be her spine. Her muscles are very sore, and he has a way to help her solve this problem once and for all. The actress quickly stopped and was in shock that this guy knew about her problem. The girl is very afraid that it could somehow affect her career, but no one knows about it except her family. The girl's supposed personal trainer was after her and did not understand what kind of back pain was this. It is the first time he has heard of her. The actress herself thought that even a person who has been working as a personal trainer for 3 years did not notice her problem. But the protagonist understood everything from the first time. The girl couldn't understand how he knew it, so decided to ask him directly. Li Shu replied that with her professional level, it is very easy to find out that she has a lower back pain. He even says that even his personal trainer must know that. In fact, the protagonist knows that this perfect system displays everything for him. The furious guy grabbed the prota by the shirt, asking what this guy is talking about. The man says that he has been a personal trainer for the actress and other popular artists for many years, so how could the protagonist think he is as good as him? Then said that Li Shu is just a liar who must have heard some gossip somewhere. The protagonist did not tolerate such an attitude towards himself and grabbed the man by the wrist. The man did not expect this guy to have such a strong grip. Li Shu asked this man how a person with kidney failure in such poor physical shape as he can say to be the best personal trainer. The man got nervous and could not find out where the guy got this information from. Then he yelled at the guy to let him go and asked what kind of kidney failure he's talking about. Then the man says that the prota should be very careful with his words. Otherwise he will be sued for defamation. Li Shu continued to lead the conversation. He asked if Molly didn't think he had a kidney problem or a weak body. The man justified himself by saying that it is very difficult to become a personal trainer for a famous artist when there are so many fans around, but he assures that he is really putting together good people. Then the protagonist quickly asks if he has the courage to compete with him in fitness. He suggests that it is only an hour of a quick fat-burning workout. Then Lie asks if he is too afraid of damaging his extensive muscles. Actress ᴄᴏᴘύʀɪԼ콴 looked at them sideways, and for some reason remembered that she had not really done any exercise in the past 6 months with her trainer. Then she started to think that the protagonist was absolutely right and his coach doesn't have any talent, so Liu told his coach to come back. Meanwhile, Agent Katie realized that she was cheating on her client for 3 years, and thus ending her trust. She got rid of this coach in front of everyone. The man left and began to think that the protagonist was doing everything to take his place. The actress turned to the protagonist and said that she really hopes that he just doesn't care, so she sincerely asks him to become her personal trainer to treat his illness. Lie immediately agreed but said that all this does not need healing but exercises. He says that he is not a doctor but can guarantee for sure that his back pain can be cured once and for all. A little later in the VIP gym, Katie brought water and a towel to her friend and warned her to be very careful, saying that she shouldn't be too dishonest just because she is too pretty. Katie said that if this trainer dares to be or do something that she doesn't do, she should scream because she will stay behind the door and quickly come to the rescue. The actress was very touched that Katie was so worried about her, but she was sure that this young man was a true professional in his field and that he wouldn't dare to do anything obscene. Plus, she definitely thought this guy was handsome. Meanwhile, the protagonist was about to enter the gym and start training, but his boss asked him to wait a while. She warned him that she always paid attention in a private room, and if he suddenly dared to take this opportunity to play with the actress, then he is just going to turn into a corpse. The protagonist was simply next to him with a face of indignation. He doesn't understand why everyone thought he was really that kind of person. He says that the boss is much brighter than the actress, so he wasn't going to do anything. The blonde stepped on his foot to silence him. The young man screamed in pain and decided to go to class. Suddenly, out of the corner of his eye, the trainer saw that Katie herself was behind him. She cleared her throat awkwardly and asked if he had called her. Then suddenly she began to seduce him and said that his muscles were really very strong. Then she asked if he would give her his private lessons someday. The young man realized to himself that it was better to let her talk to herself, so he went back to the hall where the actress was waiting for him. Lie apologized for being late and asked if she was ready. The girl replied that she was ready and mentally wondered if her clothes would be too sexy for the protagonist. But when she approached, he just said that now they would finally start training. The protagonist found the actress very beautiful and tempting in those clothes, but preferred not to show anything like Lulu ordered. A little later, the prota ordered the girl to lie on her back, put her hands aside, and spread her legs shoulder-width apart. Then she should slowly raise her hips and focus her attention. The girl didn't understand why she suddenly felt wildly embarrassed. Lie praised her and told her to stay in this position for 10 minutes. The girl didn't expect that she would have to stay in this position for 10 minutes. Some time passed and she held on with all her strength. Her legs and thighs were already shaking uncontrollably with fatigue and her waist hurt a lot. But the girl decided to ask the coach how much time had passed because it seemed like she had been a year ago. The protagonist frowned and said that it had only been 2 minutes since the start. ᴄᴏᴘύʀɪლიʲ did not expect this because it seemed that an eternity had already passed. The girl says that it is unlikely that she will be able to hold out a few more minutes, let alone 10 full minutes. It seems that her waist is about to break. Suddenly, the protagonist grabbed her from behind and told her not to stop. No way. She should think about the back pain that has plagued her for many years. Then he asked to trust him, and she definitely has nothing to worry about. The girl agreed and continued in such a difficult position. The guy told her to focus on her hips and slowly relax her waist muscles, and she must try to find a method that adapts and in no case can want to rush. Suddenly, she realized that the coach's words surprisingly seem magical, and even the back pain is gone. The protagonist looks at the clock and says that there were only 10 seconds left. In the last seconds, the actress held on only with her last strength, and when the word itself sounded to her, that time was up and she could finally rest. The girl cursed and said that she was barely alive. The protagonist asked if everything was okay, but the girl got up abruptly and said that she had to drink something first. She didn't even listen to the coach's advice that she shouldn't get up so fast after such a heavy load on the body. So as soon as she took a step, the girl almost fell. But fortunately, the trainer managed to catch her in time. Suddenly, the girl realized that she was clinging to a man's body and jumped back, making excuses about the weakness of her legs. The protagonist replied that everything was fine and that he didn't have to worry. She just shouldn't have made any sudden movements. He also asked how her waist was and if she was feeling a little more relaxed. At that moment, the girl realized that her waist really became relaxed. It had been a long time since she had this feeling of lightness. Her eyes shone with joy and the actress was already ready to start a new exercise. The girl begins to think that if she had met Coach Lie before, she would not be struggling with this problem for so long. Then the trainer said that he would give her a relaxing massage. He says that her vertical spine and lower back muscles are very tight, so to relieve the pain, the relaxing massage is essential. Lie did not expect that she would also receive a massage. After a while, she was lying on her stomach while the protagonist was doing the massage. The girl starts to think that this was the first time a man had touched her body. Her family was very protective and she was constantly acting in movies, so she didn't have much time for that. While she was thinking about everything, Coach Lee Shu told her to keep breathing deeply and relax. The girl replied that she understood. She believes that the technique performed by the trainer is quite professional and can be compared to a professional massage. The actress likes this massage so much that she tries to restrain herself and not make any sound. Meanwhile, the trainer himself managed to do this massage at a high level very easily, and all because he had tips for a perfect system. It was literally written in front of his eyes. This system was really a unique thing. Lee Shu knows very well about acupuncture, and all he has to do now is follow the system's instructions to complete the series. Suddenly, the girl screamed violently because the guy had pressed a very specific point. All of this man's movements seemed too smooth and slow. Wherever he presses stimulates his body, which the girl felt it was very much like an electric shock. The protagonist flexed a little the arms to follow the points of the system. Now he told the girl to relax because the massage is over. The actress herself did not want to finish and leave. She liked it so much that she would have spent another 1,000,000 years on this carpet. But to her sadness, the protagonist replied that it is really over. But he said that he can continue if she really wants to. The girl jumped up and answered in the negative. So the protagonist asked her not to stay in bed. The girl should drink water and then get up and walk a little. A little later, Liu was already walking on the treadmill. At this time, the protagonist appeared in the system space, and Lulu congratulated him for helping the actress go further in her perfection. He had just received a total of 12 perfect points after helping the actress. The main character again has a large selection of items that he can buy for himself, and even the perfect price for 12 perfect points. The list included physique enhancement fish scales and their armor speed booster. The guy asked Lulu why some products limit the number of purchases while others don't. Lulu replied to the master that the items that limit the number of purchases are all consumption. For example, physique-enhancing medicine, no matter what, will have its limits, and that's because of the human body. The unlimited use of physique-enhancing drugs doesn't always strengthen the body as a whole. After taking more than 200 medications, this medication will lose its effect, so the substance to improve the physique will remind the owner of the frequency of purchases. The protagonist wants all the things that are presented in the list, but 12 points are clearly not enough for him, so he asked Lulu to check the bills or declare income like on a credit card. The girl said it wouldn't work, and if he wanted to buy all these things, then he must work very hard to earn points. Lai Shu didn't contradict her and said he didn't need these glasses now. The boy replied that when he needed it, he could just wake her up on his head. The protagonist looks at Liu Qinyi and saw that she was still working out on the treadmill. He realized that he had to find a way to earn more points. A little later, the boss herself approached the actress and handed the girl a towel. Su Liang notes that she looked much better and says that Coach Lee Shu did not disappoint her. The actress thanked her for the towel and replied that it even gave her a bigger surprise. The girl also asked Su Liang what kind of coach he thought the protagonist was. The boss began to list in his head that he was honest, good, and so on. But when it was time to speak, the boss replied that she didn't understand what the actress was talking about. Liu Qinyi replied that she thought the protagonist was a great talent who deserves a better and higher development platform. Su Liang wondered if this girl really wants to get her coach for her. At that moment, the protagonist appeared and asked what they were talking about here. The boy had a big smile on his face and asked if they would mind if someone else joined the conversation. The actress replied that she didn't care about anything, but she was afraid that Miss Su Liang would get jealous. The boss started to walk away and thought that maybe the protagonist hadn't really missed the opportunity. She turns around and says that Li Shu is just her friend. This answer surprised the protagonist a little, but he didn't answer anything and turned to the girl, who thanked him for helping her with her back. The young man replied that it was no big deal and asked for 2 autographs. The actress looks towards him and asks if besides the autographs, what does he think of an annual salary of $1 million? The boy at first could not even think of such an amount. The girl replied that she wanted to hire him as her personal trainer, and if this amount is not good for him, then she can add more. She tells him that his salary is definitely not comparable to such a small club, and if he accepted, the guy can take a leap in his career as if he had wings. She says that normal people will not be able to give up such an opportunity for fame and fortune. The protagonist replied to the girl that she only needed to pay for the time of classes, and that she should forget about the annual salary. The girl did not understand if he was really planning to stay in this small club for the rest of his life, or if it's all because of Chief Su Liang. The main character confessed that part of the reason is that everyone has love for the beauty of the boss. The actress yelled, asking why the guy was already leaving. Then she said that she could also hire Chief Su Liang. The protagonist just stretched out his hands to his sides and replied that she would never agree because he knows her so well. Meanwhile, Su Liang was already sitting at her desk in her office and clicking with the mouse. She begins to think that as soon as the protagonist leaves her, There will only be her at the club, so she urgently needs to hire new coaches. The protagonist approached her and suggested that she seemed to be in a bad mood. He says that if something is wrong, then she can tell him so that he can make her happy. The girl turned to him and asked when he planned to leave. The guy didn't understand what she was talking about, so asked if the actress had said something. The girl suddenly replied that he could just leave, but the young man did not understand why he should leave and said that he would never leave her alone. Suliang did not believe that he refused. The boy replied that he had signed a share transfer agreement and that he would never leave her. The girl squinted her eyes towards the prota. Meanwhile, the actress and her agent Katie passed by the place. They were thinking that this couple didn't seem like common friends. Katie suddenly said that they have another show that will be filmed a little later, so it's time to say goodbye. As soon as the two girls walked out the door, the protagonist immediately asked his boss why don't they rest and swim now, since there are no other guests planned for today. The girl crossed her arms on his chest and reproached the guy for constantly thinking about it, and said that if he doesn't want to see a pool soaked in red liquid, then he should just wait a few days. Suddenly, men with bold, tattooed voices came to them. They weren't very friendly and couldn't believe they were hired because of these two. At this moment, the scene goes to the prota lying in a hospital bed all bandaged. Even with his head tied, he was woken up by Suliang, who passed a wand in his face. At first, the young man could not understand where he was. The bright light hit his eyes very hard and he frowned. Suddenly, he moaned because of the pain in his head. The boy constantly wondered what happened to him. Meanwhile, the boss called the doctor to see him immediately. The doctor was apparently an acquaintance of Suliang. She said that the protagonist only had a few injuries and he needed time to recover. Although he looks very bad, it is nothing serious. The doctor ended by saying that she just needs to take a break and then everything will be fine. Then the doctor remembered that she was his roommate at the university and that she worked hard for the family, so she asked what Suliang's relationship with the protagonist was. The boss blushed with embarrassment and couldn't think of anything to say, but then she explained that the protagonist was only the coach of her club and nothing else. The doctor said that she had been seeing her alone for some time, so she was worried. Then she turned to the victim herself and said that the nurse had put all his things in the closet. She also asked about the origin of the things he wore before because they protect very well. The guy replied that it was his family's inner armor that is used for self-defense. He thought that if he hadn't exchanged the perfect glasses for the fish scale armor before the bad guys arrive, then he would no longer have half a life. Suddenly Lulu appeared and asked if the owner knew why the bandits had come to him. So she showed him an episode in which the former personal trainer of the actress ᴄᴏᴘύϊ gives money to these bandits and asks them to break the guy's leg or arm. It was terribly mean. The protagonist wonders how can people do this. Molly told the bandits that if all goes well, he would give the rest of the money. The protagonist asked Lulu how she found out this information, and she replied that when he fought the bandits, she extracted their memory and received a video about the deal. They dared to be unfavorable to the host, and therefore Lulu had to investigate from his red liquid. The guy praised her and said it was very impressive. She did a great job. The girl thanked the owner and said that after all this was her duty. The protagonist said goodbye waving but didn't realize that he was already in his reality. Suddenly, the two girls immediately jumped on him. Suliang says that it seems that he started to delusion and hit his head very hard. The doctor offered to transfer him to a psychiatric ward. The protagonist was trying to tell them that he was just very emotional. The doctor told her friend that she needed to go take care of other patients. Suliang went back to the boy and said that he should regain his strength and not go to work at the club. The boy asked how she would work alone all this time. The blonde replied that it wasn't that difficult, besides that she should fix the facade. The boss sat at the guy's feet and asked who really did that. She questioned if he is not bothering someone's girlfriend. The prota asked indignantly if he really seems to be that kind of person. Then he made it clear that he does not think about anyone but her. The boss asked him to think about it and maybe he remembers something. The young man asked her not to worry and leave this problem entirely to him. The boss wasn't sure she could do it. Even though he has an inner armor, it's still very dangerous. The protagonist froze in surprise for a moment and asked how she knows about his armor. Suliang hurried to answer and said he heard something about fish scales. That's why she said that the guy had no choice but to agree. The boss noticed that it was too late and it was time to go back. Suliang left the room thinking that she shouldn't let people know who she really is. She says that she will always live in the dark. The boss remembered that she left her family but questioned why her heart hasn't forgotten anything yet. She thinks of the prota and says that they are destined to be together. The girl says that this is how fate works. The rest of the time in the hospital, the guy just lay there and did nothing but stay glued to the phone. He was very bored and watched all the news and gossip. There was even shocking news about the famous actress ᴄᴏᴘύϊ. The news said that she is secretly dating a mysterious rich man. But this news excited the protagonist and he jumped on the bed. Suddenly his room was invaded by the actress ᴄᴏᴘύϊ, who wore glasses so as not to be recognized. The girl asked him to keep his voice down so that people would not run to the infirmary. Then she was horrified because he was wrapped in a bandage from head to toe, literally. The girl asked if he is seriously injured. The boy told her that everything was fine with him. At least that's what his boss said. The protagonist asked how the girl knew he was here. The actress replied that the Suliang had informed her. The girl says that she knows that he could have defeated those bandits alone, but the prota opposed her words and said that if he could, he would not be lying in the hospital. The girl got as close as possible and asked what the boy had already done to them. She questioned if he crossed the path of some boss. Lai Shu told her not to talk nonsense because in that case there would be many more people than two. Then he asked the girl if it is not dangerous for her to come here alone. The girl hesitated because it was like that, but she learned that he was in the hospital and decided to come here. The actress says that no one will be able to help her with back and lower back pain. At that moment, the protagonist realized that the girl was only worried about her back. Suddenly, there was a knock in the infirmary, and a young man with shoulder-length hair appeared outside the door. He asked permission to enter, and the prota was about to ask who it was, but the girl suddenly put her hand over his mouth and asked him not to make noise. As no one said a word, the young man decided to enter. The girl quickly hid under the boy's blanket so that she could not be seen. The protagonist noticed that this man seemed to have a bad mood since he was silent all the time and just looked around the infirmary, not caring about the comfort of others. The actress asked the guy to calm down because it would be very bad if she was found here. Lai Shu understood that she shouldn't panic so as not to give herself up, but it was very difficult. The girl was so close to him that it became very strange. She still breathed very often, which was extremely uncomfortable. The man apologized for entering the wrong door and left the infirmary. The girl quickly came out from under the warm blanket. She was very afraid of being discovered, and this also scared the guy a lot. But they entered the infirmary again. This time it was Suliang with a bag in her hands. Apparently she bought his food, however. She ran away and apologized for interrupting the two. The protagonist asked her to stop so he could explain everything. So he said that he is the victim in this situation. The boss was in doubt because she thought he seemed to like it. The boy got nervous and tried to claim that he didn't like anything. The actress looked at him with a dissatisfied look and asked if he meant that she had no charm at all. Suliang didn't understand how long they would stay in this position for the guy to be nervous. 7 years ago, the actress in her school uniform stood on the bridge and posed for her brother, howling to make her a star. Suddenly, a dog with a wound on his paw ran up to her. The girl wanted to pet him and look at the wound, but when she was already pulling her hand, the dog began to bark threateningly, which frightened the poor girl. Then a boy just approached and kicked the animal. The dog was in the water and the girl couldn't understand why the guy did that. He started to apologize, saying that he just wanted to protect her from the animal. The girl shed tears and said that it was the dog that was afraid of her. The young man replied that it was just a stray dog. Returning to the current events, Liu Qinyi sat in front of the bed and told the prota that this man who came here before, they grew up together and he likes her, but she doesn't feel the same. Because of the relationship between the two families, she can only avoid him. This time she came to the city to shoot a movie, but this guy followed her, saying that he needed to go on a business trip, but in the end he was with her every day. The girl says that he is really a good person and treats her well, but sometimes she thinks that he is a little scary. Suliang realized that she would not be able to avoid him all the time and asked if the girl had any idea what she would do if this. The actress replied that she had invented a way to end it once and for all. She said that she needed the protagonist to do her a favor, but he immediately warned that he could not pretend to be her boyfriend. This idea was simply impossible. The actress asked him how he knew what she wanted from him. The guy replied that he wouldn't be her boyfriend, and that's it. Liu Qinyi made an abandoned puppy face. The protagonist said he was useless and he can't do anything about it. The prota says that his pseudo-boyfriend is a murderer and he doesn't want to provoke him in any way. Lulu didn't understand why the owner was refusing. She says that they need to hurry up and agree to this adventure. Lulu asked if the protagonist didn't need the glasses anymore. Then the boy asked what this has to do with the glasses. Lulu explained that by helping others become more perfect, he can get the glasses. If Liu Qinyi manages to escape the persecution, then there are great opportunities to find true love. This is the development of perfection. Lulu says that if he doesn't want to receive points, then he can refuse this girl's request. The protagonist realized that he needed to agree to this, so he tells the actress that he can't see the girl in trouble and ignore her. Liu Qinyi thanked the boy and said that this was great. The young man was happy to be able to change his glasses. Only Suliang wasn't happy about this situation. She thought that this guy clearly had some other reason. She didn't understand why he agreed to the role of a fake boyfriend so easily. The prota came back to say that he wasn't that kind of person. Then he said that he really would like Miss Suliang to choose him. Liu Qinyi also didn't understand how the boss could not fall in love with a guy as a coach. The protagonist was shocked by her words. The boss replied that it had nothing to do with it and Li Shu could do whatever she wanted. The protagonist just needed to help the girl, but the only thing the guy really needed now was just to lie down and get better. At that moment, the said stalker named Wang Shao was sitting in his black limousine. He asked Coach Molly if he had something. The athlete replied that he had very important information, then said that Wang probably already knows that Miss ᴄᴏᴘύϊ is avoiding him for some very strange reason. Wang interrupted the man and said that he was not here to listen to his nonsense. Although Molly knows that he made a mistake before he says that the reason why Miss ᴄᴏᴘύϊ is avoiding him is all because of his new coach Li Shu, the athlete says that Wang must be very careful because this guy is extremely dangerous. Wang kicked him out of the car. Then the pursuer turned to his friend and asked if it was possible to believe this Molly's words. The friend replied that his words were total nonsense, and only a fool would believe those words. Wang held a glass of red wine in his hand and said that even if this is a lie, he would rather annihilate 1,000 by mistake than allow ᴄᴏᴘύϊ to have with someone. The chase makes it clear that it will make the protagonist know that there are people he should not mess with. The blonde man realized that it was not at all surprising that the girl did not like him. In his place, he would not like arrogant men either. Wang replied that he would rather be arrogant than dependent. The friend just took a deep breath in response and said that he likes to tell the truth always. Meanwhile, in Ward 1203, ᴄᴏᴘύϊ was lying next to the Prota and humming a song at the same time. The guy suddenly interrupted her thoughts and said that it was quite late and asked if she doesn't need to go back to the hotel. The girl, who continued to play on the phone, asked why she should leave if her boyfriend is in the hospital. The actress says she wants to be with him. When the Prota went to call her once again, she freaked out, saying that it was not to call her by her last name, and asked which boyfriend calls his girlfriend by her full name. Suddenly, someone knocked on the door, and the guy replied that he could come in. It ended up being the Stalker again, and the girl, calmly sitting on the bed, asked why he came here. The young man replied that he had gone to pick her up at the hotel, and said that it is very dangerous for her to be on the street. The girl objected, saying that her boyfriend was very injured and she should stay here to take care of him properly. The protagonist felt goosebumps, but he did not show it and just ate what she was giving him. She said that she cooked this porridge for 3 hours, but the Prota knew that the girl had bought it in the dining room downstairs. Suddenly, Wang asked the guy what it was his name. The protagonist introduced himself and saw the information about this thug in the system. This guy's name was Wang, 185 centimeters tall, 77 kilograms and 20% body fat, and he had acquired skills in the field of martial arts. The protagonist is scared to learn that there was a martial artist in front of him, but he doesn't understand why it has unknown details. Lulu explained that this is because the distance between him and the guy is too great. Also, if there wasn't a perfect system, Li Shu Nem would have imagined that he was a martial artist. Wang decided to take a test, so he asked him if Shu knew when it was his girlfriend's birthday. The protagonist replied yes, but he realized in his head that it seemed like a trap, because he doesn't really know anything about her. Meanwhile, Wang kept asking about the girl's favorite things, her favorite color of clothes, which movie does she like, which actor does she like, what is her favorite dish, while the girl shook the protagonist by the shoulders and tried to figure out what was wrong with him. The protagonist couldn't move and he really scared the girl. The boy is dizzy and very scared. Wang asked the girl how her boyfriend couldn't know such things, and said that she is not suitable for the role of this guy's girlfriend. Suddenly, Suliang entered the infirmary, and pressing the protagonist's head on his chest, she silently asked if he was okay. Wang wondered how such a beautiful woman can take care of this guy. The blonde said he wasn't welcome here, so she asked him to leave. Wang asked if ᴄᴏᴘύϊ should leave since the guy's girlfriend was here. The actress said she was very sorry, and said that she didn't know that such a thing could happen. Suliang was still angry and replied that she had nothing to apologize for. She just hoped that from now on the actress would be able to stay away from her and Prota. The farther away the better. The actress had tears in her eyes, and it wasn't easy for the blonde herself to say all this, but what was said couldn't be brought back. The protagonist didn't react to anything because he had consciousness somewhere deep. It was as if he was being held by a strong rope that he couldn't get out of at all. His consciousness was moving away from his body and he couldn't get out to freedom. No one can help him. Suddenly, gentle hands touched him and asked him to relax. There was a promise that everything would be fine. Li Shu was lying in the shade of a big tree on someone's lap and his name was called. The voice sounded familiar, but it was hard for him to understand what was happening. He felt so soft, cozy and warm that he didn't even want to wake up. Suliang touched his temples and asked if he could hear her. The guy's eyes opened slowly and he was back at the hospital. The boss was sitting next to him. The boy barely asked what had happened to him, and the girl only said that everything was fine and that everything was over. The boss believes that if he hadn't arrived in time, maybe he wouldn't have survived. Suddenly, the protagonist had an epiphany of what Wang had done to him. Li Shu realized that this guy really had the power of a martial artist. He felt humiliated at having been devastated by him. The protagonist realized that he too, by all means, must become a master of martial arts. Lulu congratulated the boy for being recognized as a perfect system and also successfully activated the Perfect Heart Sutra. Li Shu asked Lulu if he was not approved by the system a long time ago. She replied that before he had only received the right to use, and then it was possible to use only the basic functions. Only after receiving approval can you unlock and use all the functions available in the system. The guy didn't understand why he suddenly got the right. After all, he felt very weak when Wang played with him like an insect. Lulu explained that non-tolerance is the ultimate expression of the desire to strive for perfection. Is also a powerful incentive for a person to break through to achieve perfection. The goal of this system is to help people achieve perfection. The perfect heart of the sutra systematically responds to a person's inner desire. The greatest type of learning occurs through the owner's memory. The protagonist objected because he is not a martial artist. How the system gets information about martial arts from him. Lulu said that if he had read a lot of novels and watched a lot of TV shows about martial arts, the system could extract information from there as well. The guy didn't understand how that was possible. He didn't understand the whole situation very much. Lulu said that if the owner runs 2 laps, the system can get a lot of information. The young man asked why it seems to him that she scolded someone. Lulu laughed and said that it is just a metaphor. She added that the Perfect Heart Sutra is based on the strongest martial arts in the owner's mind. The guy asked if this is the real sutra or the magic of the 9 yang. Lulu stood behind him and said that like the sunrise, she is the only undefeated. The guy asked if she could rewrite it because he is very afraid. Lulu replied that the system was written based on its memory and data, so if it writes again, the result will be exactly the same. The protagonist thought if this is really bad. He recalled that his mother as a child asked him why he was sitting on his knees so close to the TV. It was all because of the influence of the undefeated. Lulu asked if he wanted to think about practicing the Perfect Heart Sutra or was making a joke. The protagonist replies that he couldn't figure out how he could practice the treasure of the sun. Lulu got angry and called her master too stupid. She says that the technique is written based on the sunflower treasure. Li Shu says that then it was written very disgusting. Anyway, he asks how she can be qualified to be called the Sutra of the Perfect Heart. Then he says that maybe Lulu is just lying to him. She replied that of course she wasn't lying to him. The point is that this is the guy's spiritual world, and here he can't improve. He needs to return to reality. Also, since the heart of the sutra consumes too much energy, so people will need to enter a sleep state for a while, and during sleep his little Lulu will serve him. The guy greeted a small copy of Lulu slowly. When he was alone, he opened the book and saw the first level of body hardening. From now on, he will also become a martial artist. The guy was sitting in the lotus position and through the veil heard Su Liang's voice, who asked if he was handcuffed for some physical discomfort. She sees that he keeps his eyes closed and asks if it was because of a headache. The boy blushed and replied that he was fine, but the blonde noticed that he didn't seem to be hurt and was full of energy. Compared to what he was before, he is completely different. The girl asked again if he was really okay and if he is not hiding anything from her. The guy replied that everything was really fine and the girl decided it was time to leave. The protagonist said goodbye to her and asked her to be careful. A lot happened today and she should have a good rest. The girl said that he should call if she needed something urgently. The door closed behind her and the young man went back to the technique. He untied all the bandages on his body at once. It still hurt, but the protagonist has to gain strength as soon as possible to defeat Wang and take revenge for everything he did to him, but only 1,000 times stronger. A strong life force perfects the 5 points of his body. For Prota, it was all very painful, but this pain is nothing compared to the desire for revenge. He just wants to become strong. Something dark and incomprehensible. Suddenly it started to run out of bed. This thing smelled horrible and almost the whole hospital ran because of the smell. Later the guy was in the shower to wash everything, and suddenly he realized that he felt power and was also more beautiful. Now the path to the martial arts master was open to him. Before Su Liang looked at the ward and asked the guy how he was feeling, the young man was already sitting on the bed and with a wide smile on his face replied that it couldn't be better. The girl ran to him in an instant and asked where he had put all his bandages. Li Shu replied that everything was fine with him, so she shouldn't worry too much because he can already be discharged. The girl didn't believe this nonsense and demanded to examine him. The boss wondered what this guy was doing last night. The protagonist looked at the information about the girl and saw the unknown word again. He wondered if Su Liang is also perfect in martial arts. The boss put her hand in front of his face and asked him what he was thinking so deeply that he didn't even react to anything. The protagonist replied that he wasn't talking about anything and said that he probably felt sick yesterday, so he was a little distracted. Su Liang realized that he didn't have a fever but had to call the doctor. Li Shu didn't even have time to stop her and she immediately ran out of the ward. The doctor arrived and started to examine the guy. She was surprised that the wounds healed so quickly. The protagonist replied that everything heals very fast since childhood. The doctor suddenly said that she wanted to examine him completely since he has a special body. Su Liang came back and asked her friend to stop since she said that the guy was fine. When the doctor was already leaving, he suddenly asked if she knew Su Liang. The girl immediately sat next to him and said that they had been together from 4 years until the university and were almost inseparable. The doctor said that they are so close that they simply seem to be from the same family. The protagonist said that he really wanted to know more about the girl, but he was too shy to ask, so he asked the doctor to tell him about her. Then the doctor began to tell that at the university she did not communicate with her family. During her 4 years her parents were based, and her uncle raised her until she became an adult. She has no parents. The girl says that Lee Shu shouldn't even think about offending her in any way. The young man realized that everyone in this world has their own secrets and he must be strong enough to keep these secrets to himself. A little later, Su Liang were already driving the car. The boy suddenly realized that they were not going to his house. The girl was surprised that he had finally woken up. The boy replied that he had just been discharged from the hospital, then where she was taking him. The boss replied that she will take him to her house. Until he fully recovered, he would live with her. Su Liang starts to think that if Wang finds out that Li Shu is alive and well, then he won't leave him alone. The protagonist was surprised why he will live with her. His cheeks still turned red, and he asked if they will really be roommates. Su Liang's house really turned out to be a beautiful mansion, and the guy was stunned by such a view. He always dreamed of living in such a fancy house. The girl replied that then her dream came true. The guy suddenly hugged her and said it was as if they were married. The girl replied that if he uttered such nonsense again, she would eat his tongue at dinner. The guy started begging to spare him because a tongue is not delicious. The blonde told her that as he had a lot of energy, he should prepare dinner today. Opening the fridge, the guy realized that it was completely empty. The girl came out with a towel saying that she likes to clean a lot and never buys extra food. The boy hugged her and asked if they could go to the supermarket together. In this case, she agrees, but she took his hand off her bare shoulder. She also warned that she was very picky with food, and if she didn't like it, she would be very angry. The protagonist surprised her because he knows that the girl loves fish, but not it must be very spicy. She also likes nuts and doesn't like sour food. The blonde didn't understand how this guy managed to remember all this, but he says he remembers everything she told. The girl warns that if it is not now, all the stores will close. The young man said to himself that the battle has not yet been won, and they need to try their best. When they arrived at the supermarket, the guy took the girl by the hand because there were a lot of people there and they shouldn't get lost. Su Liang realized that this guy really always does things his way. Suddenly, someone called Li Shu, and it turned out to be none other than Liu Qini and Wang. They all saw each other in the supermarket. Wang started to think how this guy can have fun after what happened to him in the hospital corridor. Wang definitely didn't think that Li Shu would get out of the hospital so quickly. The protagonist was angry as he knew a little more and he would have already been hospitalized, but luckily he was very lucky. The protagonist agreed with his point of view, but thought that if it wasn't for his humiliation, he wouldn't have been able to take the opportunity to improve his system, and wouldn't have achieved the ideal thinking technique. Liu Qini didn't understand why they were talking in riddles, but since they all met here, she invited them to go to lunch together. Su Liang grabbed the girl's hand and reminded her of yesterday's words. She asked to never approach them again. Tears immediately came to her eyes and the girl asked if the protagonist really hates her so much and doesn't want to see her. Li Shu said he doesn't hate her but hates the guy who sticks around her all the time. Wang said that he hates him too. The prota was sure that that guy would not be able to humiliate him more than yesterday. He promised that he would teach this persecutor a lesson. Liu Qini runs to Wang saying that Coach Li Xiu is a very talented person and she really hopes he doesn't hate him. The guy took her hand away and asked if she could have gone crazy for wanting him to be friends with this reptile. Meanwhile, the protagonist was already preparing for a fight. They stood in front of each other until Liu Qini stood between them. She yelled at them to stop all this immediately. She doesn't want this fight to happen. The girl says that Wang really let her down a lot now, and she doesn't want to see him anymore. In tears, the girl just ran away in the other direction. Wang didn't run after her, and told the protagonist that this time he managed to make him angry.